This is Wayne and Cindy Rogers with the 416 podcast. This is the interview series, and I'm here with Jason Floyd. We are in Bennington, Vermont, and we're excited to be able to sit down and do another interview today. And so, Jason, just tell us a little bit introduce yourself and your role here in the Bennington congregation.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate the work that you and your wife are doing. I think it's a really cool work that you're starting here, and you've been an encouragement to us already here. My name's Jason Floyd, and my wife Sarah, and I have two kids, Nathan and Noah, 9 and 7. One will be 10 in a few weeks here. So we have lived in this part of the country for about 12 years now.
Okay.
And in 2020, the start of 2020, I stepped into the role of being the minister. Before that, we didn't have a minister. All the guys took turns speaking. And and this is Nathan. Okay, thank you. Go back in. Thank you. So all the guys took turns speaking, and we had an eldership at that point. Okay. But we had one of our elders was getting very close to passing away, and eventually he did pass away. And so that, of course, dissolved the eldership, right. And there was a very big hole left there when that happened. And so I had the opportunity to kind of step into a role where I could fill a void. Obviously, I can't do the work of an elder. I can't do the job of an elder, but I am able to hopefully help the congregation through this time period while we don't. So that was in 2020, and of course, we know what happened in 2020.
This is the year.
Yes. So, about 3 or 4 months after I stepped into the job, the lockdown hit, and we had to meet online for about a month and a half before we met back again in person. But even meeting back again in person, it was a very difficult, challenging time for us. The state of Vermont was locked down for a very long period of time, and there were times that we had to be kind of careful meeting because church's meeting was very much frowned on. So we would park in the back parking lot to kind of, keep it low key for a while. But Vermont was locked down pretty hard for a solid year, 2, in some cases even 3 years in a lot of ways. So that's we eventually did start to come back, and that's where we are today. We've climbed up where we are now into the solidly in the low to mid 20s in attendance on Sunday morning now.
Well, and I know just talking to you a little bit the other night, and then also just kind of what we've seen already in other conversations in the Northeast, it seems to be the COVID thing was real, up here as far as the lockdowns and how detrimental it really was, and across our whole brotherhood, it hurt the church in a lot of ways, but it really affected, I think, up in the North and Northeast, especially areas that were already having a difficult time by way of, this is a mission field, and so I know that to be the case, but I know that also was very difficult, but I'm glad to hear that, kind of still pulling back through those things and kind of working forward, and I know that's a difficult thing. So just so people know, Vermont, kind of just where are we? how far? I know you talked about you work in Albany, New
Yes.
York, some. So
yes.
So just kind of give us an idea of, so if somebody was traveling through, how would they find us? How would they find you here?
So we're in the southeastern corner of Vermont, and like you said, we're about an hour from Albany, New York, about an hour from the New Hampshire line, and about 25 minutes to the Massachusetts line.
Okay.
So
kind of in that little corner.
Right. And so obviously you've got Vermont has its own unique culture.
Yeah.
But we also kind of have some influence from the culture of the capital region. That's what they call that part of New York around Albany, the capital region. So have a little bit of that cultural influence there.
Okay.
But it's absolutely beautiful part of the country. It's beautiful. All the seasons are beautiful. People like to come up in the fall. That's
that's what brings everybody here.
Yes. But then there's also a lot of skiing in the area. People like to come up for that. But we're also just 3.5 hour drive from New York City. So anybody that's in the along the eastern seaboard, a quick day trip up here. Come see us. Come say hi.
Absolutely. And we would like to encourage people to do that, and especially because that to me. So knowing where you are, kind of in the southern part of Vermont, not far from Albany, not terribly far from the coastline, and so people could come over and figure out a way, maybe as they're traveling up or traveling through somewhere, to hopefully come by and visit. And it is we've messed around in the town a little bit today, and we've kind of some of the other little towns in the area, very quaint little towns, just kind of neat. And so to be able to walk around, and everybody's been real nice. And so when I think about the work here in Bennington, the work you're able to do with the congregation, what if you were to highlight maybe some of the things that you're able to do, and that you and the members here are really involved in heavily, what would you spotlight as far as the work? What does it look like here?
So there's so many things that we're doing here, or that we're doing and that we're trying to do. I want to go back all the way to 2020 to start with. Right during the heart of the lockdown, when everything was really difficult. We had a very interesting situation happen, and I think that this really highlights what we're trying to do in the work and the work happening here. So it can be very isolating here in the Northeast. There's not a lot of congregations around. And Sarah had just kind of mentioned on Facebook, how difficult it was for us and for the church here being so isolated. And Cindy Colley from North Alabama, she started a card campaign where she put on her blog, hey, there's these Christian folks up in the Northeast, and if you'd like to send them a card, here's the church's address, and me and Sarah would take care of getting it to the right people. Well, we thought, okay, that's great. That's a good thing. We thought, well, we'll get a few cards. We'll bring them out. They started coming in the mail, and they came, and we wound up with hundreds of cards for a whole bunch of our members, and me and Sarah would take them and sort them out and deliver them to the houses. And one of the houses that we went to, one of our members had somebody living with them, a cousin that I had never met before. But they weren't home, but the cousin was, and we got to talking, had a conversation. And I said, hey, would you be willing to have a Bible study with me? And she's like, yeah, sure. And so we did, and we studied and studied and studied and studied. It took a very, very long time, but eventually she obeyed the gospel. Nice. But it didn't end there. She introduced me to her son, and eventually, down the road, I was able to study with her son, and she got sick. And the last Sunday that she was able to come to church before she passed, she got to see her son baptized.
That was awesome.
But it didn't stop there. One Sunday, her son came and brought a young lady with him, and on this particular Sunday, I just happened to decide, you know what, I want to preach a lesson that is exactly what I would say in a Bible study. Like if we were sitting down one-on-one in a Bible study, I want to do this lesson here. And I did, and she was so touched by the gospel right there that she's like, I need to be baptized. I need to be baptized right here, right now. Yeah. So we sat down, we studied a little bit more, and we baptized her later on that week. But then it didn't stop there. She brought someone with her and studied with her and eventually baptized her. And so that's one of the beautiful things about the gospel.
Absolutely.
I think it just
the connections.
You connect to one person, to one person, to one person, and and it all goes back to, well, because was delivering cards during and that's not the only string of connections that we've had like that. And that's one of the things that I think is wonderful about the work here. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of children, but that means that the growth and the baptisms that we're having are they're not from within. Right. They're from without.
Sure.
And we had 5 last year and 2 so far this year.
That's great.
And so it's difficult, but it's a wonderful thing.
Well, and so I love that. I love the idea that seeing the connections like that and hearing about that, because that just, to me, when you start looking at the history of every congregation and kind of what over the last couple of years, what each congregation is going through, and you start hearing stories like that and hearing about those connections, and thankful for the colleagues and their work, and reaching out, in that way, and kind of setting that up for y'all, because I know that meant a lot, getting those cards coming in, that was huge. And so and that always makes me think there's so much we can do in the Lord's kingdom, to encourage one another. And so, but you mentioned it, it does come with some difficulties in this area, and so you might want to talk to that a little bit.
Yes, and that is a good segue into some of the difficulties, because one of the very difficult things in this part of the country is once somebody is baptized, once somebody becomes a member of the church, part of that Great Commission is not just baptizing them, but making disciples. Yeah. And when you don't have a big support group, that's hard. Yeah. That's really, really hard. I would encourage somebody that is that's at the age where they're looking for a mate to find someone in the church. Right. But if that doesn't exist, right. So there isn't a lot of encouragement for people that are brand new Christians. Yeah. And so it's very hard to retain and maintain that enthusiasm that you start out with. And that's one of the reasons that we just really encourage and appreciate people coming up. Yeah. And just seeing us, and it makes it so that people can say, oh, look, there are other Christians
right out there. Yeah, the church is bigger
exactly
than us. Yeah.
Exactly, because they're the most congregations are at least an hour away from here, and we work really hard to try to bring people to area-wide events,
right.
and that kind of thing. But when you have to travel 1, 2, 3 hours away, not everybody is able to do that. Not everybody is able to go out and go somewhere and get back at 1 o'clock in the morning.
It does make it difficult. Like you were talking about the sing the other night.
Yes. Going all the way to Connecticut, which was wonderful, and I think all of us that went were really glad we went. But one of the people that went had to get up crazy early the next morning, and
does make a struggle.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think you kind of went already into this, but a little bit. But so if you could, what do you feel like is probably most rewarding about this work and this area in particular?
I would say one of the most rewarding things is how much of a family you become. Because when you are more isolated from other Christians, you don't have a dispute with someone and then take off to another church down the road, because there isn't one.
Got to work it out.
You got to work it out.
Yep.
And we do that, and we work out the problems, and we are a genuine family up here, because you have to be,
right.
And it's just, I think it's a very beautiful thing. And as we grow, we add people into the family, and I mean, it's like I said, it's challenging. Because like any family, you're going to go through some hard patches,
right.
But you work through it, and that's I think that's very rewarding. And in addition to that, I think you're also able to really have an impact on people's lives, because there is a lot of loneliness. A lot of people really need the church in their lives, and being able to help people through those times, it's very rewarding.
And I think we were talking about this the other night. The idea, the work that you're doing here and all that. While there are challenges, it does seem to be it's very much a family. Just hearing others talk about it, we were in class and just kind of talking through some things, and there you could tell that it was very open. It was very genuine and loving and caring. And so, the moment that you walk in the door here in Bennington, that that you're family right here.
Yes, absolutely.
That's where you need to be. And so that was a great feeling. So we appreciated that and love already the congregation here. Just kind of getting to know everybody. But it's very exciting, I think, to see what is going on in the area, and we hope that others will come and visit and be able to encourage you as well. Cindy, I know she wants to ask a question.
I always have an ending question. So if someone was coming to the area, what is a time of year, you kind of alluded to it, or a don't miss spot?
Ooh. Okay, so the time of year, every season it has its beautiful elements to it.
Right.
The winter, I mean, it can be a little challenging in the winter. It can be very challenging in the winter. We'll be real about it. It gets cold. It gets snowy. But it's absolutely beautiful. Of course, like we said before, lots of people like to come up in the fall. That's a beautiful time of year. the summers, also very beautiful. If you're into hiking, if you're into outdoor stuff, lots and lots of things to do. And of course, in the spring, early spring, like around April or so, is kind of considered the ugly time of year. It's mud season or stick season, depending on who you're talking to. And during that time of year, there's kind of mud everywhere. But that also leads into the flowers, and spring is just an absolutely beautiful
I bet it is.
time in this part of the country. We've got the lilacs and roses and lots of things blooming around, and so really just about any time of year, but probably the fall I would recommend the most.
Yeah.
It seems to be no mosquitoes, really good weather. And we're just at the beginning of it right now.
Yeah,
we're a little early for it, I think.
Yeah, give it 2 or 3 more weeks. It's gonna be beautiful.
Is there a spot that you would like a don't miss? We've seen a couple that I would mention when we do our coffee chat.
It depends on the time of year too.
Yeah. So if they came in the fall, where is a don't miss this spot? In Bennington.
Let's see. You need to go up to Arlington and see the Robert Frost
Yes.
covered bridge and homestead and all that up there. You need to see that. I would highly recommend going up Route 9. The leaves up there are always gorgeous, and they're a little bit earlier than other places are. The Old First Church and Cemetery is a place that we send.
Yeah, we saw that.
Yeah, we just about always send everybody there.
Yeah.
If you're into history, lots of historical things, and that's one of the really great history locations is right there at the Old First Church and the Robert Frost grave and all that stuff. Yes.
Well, thank you all for joining us, and Jason, thank you for sitting down with us. And
Thank you.
Thankful for you and Sarah and the work you're doing, and just grateful to get to know you and to make a friend too. And so hope that you'll come and visit the Bennington congregation, Bennington, Vermont. Yeah, absolutely. And they're begging you, just come by and visit. So you'll find family, I promise you that. And so next time we'll see you further down the road.